JSE-listed short-term insurer Santam released their half-year results for the 6 months ended June 2025. The insurer reported group revenue up 12% at 27.5 billion rand, with headline earnings per share coming in at 1,873 cents. That's up 19% on the year before. The board has resolved to pay shareholders an interim dividend of 5.90 rand a share. Or to get the backstory behind the numbers, I'm joined by Tavaziva Madzinga. He's the CEO at Santam. Thank you very much, Tavaziva, for joining us. So you saw an increase of 10% in your gross written premiums and a 16% uptick in the conventional net earned premium relative to the same period last year. What were the drivers behind these numbers?
I think primarily the business is firing on all cylinders. I think we've seen growth across all our different business segments, and I think it's testament that customers are choosing us as the insurer of choice. But I think a little bit more detail is that we have seen growth primarily in the direct part of our, and that's grown very well. Thank you.
Sorry about that, Tavaziva. I also heard some interruption. I hope our colleagues are sorting that out. So in the period under review, you indicate that the group's underwriting margin also almost doubled from 6.5% for the comparable period in 2024 to 11.3%. Just unpack what that means for us.
I think essentially the underwriting margin reflects the pure profitability that comes from the core underwriting activities. And I think what that tells us is that we've seen an improvement since last year. A key driver of that is that the in-force, part of our portfolio is doing very well. But I think we must also take into account the fact that we've also seen a lot less weather-related claims coming through in the first half of the year. And that's also been a big driver or contributor to the performance we've seen this year. And I think going forward, I think we can certainly expect that weather will remain a key contributor to the underlying performance of the group.
It's quite scary that the weather is a hit or miss factor. But you also have some operating stakes overseas in the likes of India. How have those businesses been faring? And in your report, you also indicate a keenness to grow internationally.
Yes, so expanding in the international space is a core part of our strategy. Our business is doing well in our domestic market here in South Africa. We currently write 20% of our business outside of South Africa, and that's primarily driven by three key business units: our reinsurance business unit, our specialty business into the rest of Africa, and now we talk about launching our Santam syndicate in London to write business much wider across the global insurance landscape. Our business or stakes in India, again, are also doing well. I think the Indian economy, there's not much not to like about that. I think it's a great success story, and our business has simply ridden the wave in that part of the world. But I think overall, we're seeing tremendous growth opportunities coming through in our international business.
So based on your observations, how are you seeing the state of the consumer, specifically in the South African context these days? And what are you seeing in terms of payment lapses, for example?
I think, Nompu, we like to focus on the positive about what's going right in the economy, mindful of government's efforts to remediate some of the challenges, particularly in terms of growth. But I think we like what we're seeing around electricity. We're seeing inflation certainly under control, interest rates starting to come down. And we've also seen motor vehicle sales up in the first half of the year. And I think for us, that's certainly a positive, as we do hope that will translate into increases in insurance sales. But I think it's also important to say that the consumer does remain under pressure. If you look at some of the key metrics, you do see lapses around insurance. And I think the consumer will continue to be under pressure. And so we're very mindful, particularly when we start to think about, premium increases. And so if we look at the first half of the year, we're looking at very moderate increases for our customers just to make sure that people continue to be able to insure and can afford insurance.
And lastly, you're already operating in the second half of the year. What are you hoping to report back to the market in the new year around the group's performance in the second half?
I think we have strong momentum, coming through from the first half of the year. But as we've said, weather does remain a factor in terms of what we expect to the end of the year. We typically would enter the hail season in parts of the country, and that could have a material impact on the results. And so we are, cautious but optimistic that the momentum that we've seen in the first half of the year will carry us through into the second half of the year, alongside the tremendous support that we enjoy from our intermediaries and brokers and the customers across the country.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to us today. That was Tavaziva Madzinga. He's the CEO at Santam Insurance.